Hello, students. Today we are going to start a new chapter that is the basis of human behavior. So, after reading this chapter, you would be able to understand the evolutionary nature of human behavior. Also, you'd be able to relate the functions of nervous system and endocrine system to behavior and explain the role of genetic factors in determining behavior. And you would be able to understand the role of culture in shaping human behavior and describe the processes of enculturation, socialization, and acculturation. You would be able to relate biological and socio-cultural factors in understanding human behavior. So, the first topic is evolutionary perspective. So, people actually differ with respect to their physical and psychological characteristics. The uniqueness of individuals result from the interaction of their genetic endowments and environmental demands. Biologists believe that the species were not always like this. In this world, there are millions of different species of organisms differing in a variety of ways, and they have evolved to their present form from their pre-existing forms. And it is estimated that the characteristics of modern human beings developed some 2 lakhs years ago as a result of their continuous interaction with the environment. So, evolution refers to gradual and orderly biological changes that result in a species from their pre existing forms in response to the changing adaptational demands of their environment. Actually, evolution occurs through the process of natural selection. Uh, the members of each species vary greatly in their physical structure and behavior. The traits or characteristics that are associated with high rate of survival and reproduction of those species are most likely ones to be passed on to the next generations. So, when repeated generation after generation, natural selection leads to the evolution of new species that are more effectively adapted to their particular environment. This is very similar to the selective breeding of horses or other animals these days. So, fitness is the ability of an organism to survive and contribute its genes to the next generation. Actually, this portion it states that people differs from one another because of the physical as well as the psychological characteristics, and people are unique because of the genetic endowments and the environmental demands. And all these are possible because of the evolutionary perspectives. Now, evolution occurs through the process of natural selection. That means যেতিয়া জেনেৰেশ্যন আফটাৰ জেনেৰেশ্যন একেটা বস্তু ৰিপিটেড হৈ থাকে তেতিয়া এটা মানে ইভলিউশ্যনেৰী প্ৰচেছৰ কাৰণে এটা নতুন বস্তুৰ নতুন এটা এনভাইৰনমেণ্টৰ লগত স্পেচিছবিলাকে এডাপ্ট কৰিব পৰা হৈ যায় এণ্ড দিছ ইজ বিকজ অফ দ্য evolutionary process. Now, there are some important features of the modern human beings differentiate them from their ancestors. The 3 points that are given in your book are a bigger and developed brain with increased capacity for cognitive behaviors like perception, memory, reasoning, problem solving, and the use of language for communication. And second one is the ability to walk upright on 2 legs. And third one is the free hand with a walkable opposite thumb. And because of these features actually, we the modern human beings are different from our ancestors. Now, our behaviors are highly complex and more developed than those of the other species because we have got a large and highly developed brain. So, human beings generally have a very developed brain. Now, human brain development is evidenced by 2 facts. First, the weight of the brain is about 2.35% of the total body weight, and it is the highest among all species. And second one is the human cerebrum is more evolved than the other parts of the brain. So, these are the 2 evidences related to the development of the human brain. So, these evolutions have resulted due to the influence of environmental demands. Some behaviors play an obvious role in evolution. For example, the ability to find food, avoid predators, and defend one's young are the objectives related to the survival of the organisms as well as their species. The biological and the behavioral qualities which are helpful in meeting these objectives increase an organism's ability to pass it on to the future generation through its genes. So the environmental demands lead to biological and behavioral changes over a long period of time. So the next topic is biological and the cultural roots. It states that there are two important determinants of our behavior. One is the biological structures that we have inherited from our ancestors, and second one is the cultural systems that provide us different experiences and opportunities of learning. So these two actually are related to us. So these are the two important determinants of behaviors. Okay, so biological system includes all the nervous system, then endocrine glands, brain, body. So all these are some important body related parts and that are responsible for our behavior. Also the cultural system that includes enculturation, acculturation, socialization. So all these systems also generally influence us to learn different things in our life. So these two are known as the two important determinants of our behavior. So next is the biological basis of behavior. Actually, biological basis of behavior includes all the body parts, brain, and so on. So first is the neurons. So neurons is the basic unit of our nervous system. Neurons are specialized cells which possess the unique property of conducting various forms of stimuli into electrical impulses. So neurons actually are specialized for reception, conduction and transmission of information in the form of electrochemical signals. Okay, so they receive information from sense organs and they carry them to the central nervous system and bring all the motor information from the central nervous system to the motor organs, and these motor organs are muscles and glands of the body. Now nearly 12 billion neurons are actually available in the human nervous system, and they are of many types and vary considerably in shape, size, chemical compositions and functions. But although they have different shape, size and qualities, but they share three fundamental components. These are soma or cell body, dendrites and axon. Okay, so this diagram actually it shows the structure of neuron. It shows that there are different parts of the neuron. So one is the soma or cell body. So soma or cell body is the main body of the nerve cell. It contains a nucleus. The diagram it indicates that there is a nucleus and of the cell as well as of other structures common to living cells of all types. The genetic material of the neuron is stored inside the nucleus and it becomes actively engaged during cell reproduction and protein synthesis. The soma also contains most of the cytoplasm of the neuron. Then another part is known as the component is the dendrite. Now dendrites are actually branch-like specialized structures emanating from the soma. This diagram it indicates that dendrites are the receiving end of neuron, receiving type. They are known as the receiving type, and their function is to receive the information in incoming neural impulses from adjacent neurons or directly from the sense organs. On dendrites are found specialized receptors which become active when a signal arrives in electrochemical or biochemical form. And the next one is the axon. Now axon is known as the sending type of a neuron, sending type actually, and it mainly transmits information to the next neuron with the help of the axon terminals. So the axon conducts the information along its length, which can be several feet in the spinal cord and less than a millimeter in the brain. Okay, so at the terminal point, the axon branches into small structures and they are called terminal buttons. And these buttons have the capacity for transmitting information to another neuron and gland and the muscles. So neurons generally conduct information in one direction, that is from the dendrites through soma and axon to the terminal buttons. Now nerves are mainly of two types. One is the sensory, which is also known as the efferent nerve. Now, sensory nerves mainly carry information from sense organs to the central nervous system. And other one is the motor nerves, which is also known as the efferent nerves. And motor nerves actually carry information from the central nervous system to the muscles or glands. And there is another type of nerve that is known as the mixed nerves. Now, sensory and motor fibers in mixed nerves are separate. So next one is the nerve impulse. Actually, information travels within the nervous system in the form of a nerve impulse. When stimulus energy comes into contact with receptors, electrical changes in the nerve potential start. Now, nerve potential is a sudden change in the electrical potential of the surface of a neuron. When the stimulus energy is relatively weak, the electrical changes are so small that the nerve impulse is not generated, and we do not feel the stimulus. If the stimulus energy is relatively strong, electrical impulses are generated and conducted towards the central nervous system. Actually, the strength of the nervous system does not depend on the strength of the stimulus that started the impulse. The strength of the nerve impulse remains constant along the nerve fiber. The nerve fibers work according to a principle that is known as the all or none principle, which means that they either respond completely or do not respond at all. So next one is the synapse. Actually, information is transmitted in the form of a neural impulse. Okay, so a single neuron can carry a neural impulse up to a distance covered by the length of its axon. So when the impulse is to be conducted to a distant part of the body, a number of neurons participate in this process. So in this process, one neuron faithfully relays the information to a neighboring neuron. So the junction between the axon tip of the sending neuron and the dendrite or cell body of the receiving neuron is called synapse. Now, the tiny gap at this junction is called the synaptic cleft. Now, this diagram shows the transmission of nerve impulse through synapse. A neuron is never physically connected with one another, rather there is a small gap between these two. This gap is known as the synaptic cleft. This picture shows the parts related to this transmission of nerve impulse through synapse. Now, the neural impulse actually from one neuron is transmitted by a complex synaptic transmission process to another neuron. The conduction of nerve impulse in the axon is electrochemical, but the nature of synaptic transmission is chemical. Now, the chemical messengers that relay messages to and from the brain is called neurotransmitters. Thank you.